What are your proudest product innovations? If you went back and pulled out a handful that you really thought really made a mark in this industry?
I'd have to say, in recent years, the one that probably put us on the map was what we call the residue manager, which is commonly referred to in the industry as a row cleaner. And that was back in the early 90s. And we had a local, at that time, it would be called a big-time operator in this area. And today they're super big-time operators. But anyway, we were licensed to build the product, and we took a couple of our samples out that we're prototyping to this farmer in the spring. And he goes, I'm really busy right now. I'll let you put 2 rows on. If it works, then we'll talk about it. We put the 2 rows on, he made 1 round. He goes, it was a 12-row planter. He goes, how soon can I get the other 10 rows? Well, luckily we had him with us, anticipating. But he was a type of farm at a grand scale at that time. And like I said, they farm much bigger today. And that's once we knew that he approved of it, that he wasn't going to be the only person that would approve of it. So we expanded it and took it out to other test sites, and the rest is history. Just exploded overnight. Well, basically, our focus is on seedbed preparation and the other parts of farming that go with that, like fertilizer placement, strip till, and focusing on preparing the soils. That's really our focus in the business. I think one of the things that from a manufacturing standpoint and product development, we've been very fortunate to have people bring us ideas. We don't operate from the perspective if it's not invented inside, it's not worth doing. We encourage people to submit ideas to us all the time, and some work and some don't work. But like the Devastator, which is the rolling device on top, goes underneath the corn head on a combine. A young kid, he was like 26 years old, from Indiana, brought us that idea. It's been a remarkable product, and it's just that's how you grow the business. Sometimes you have people bring you those ideas. It's one of those things. It's word of mouth that when people say, "Well, where do I take this to?" That we've developed that reputation over the years that people bring us those ideas. It's one of those things that we can take a look at something pretty quickly and say that this is something that we're interested in or something we're not interested in, and I would say 99.9% of the time when somebody brings you an idea, it's just basically the idea. It's not ready to be put in production, because what a farmer can build in a shop and get away with from a warranty standpoint, we can't do that. We have to be more critical about the life cycle of the product and all the other things that go into that. And then sometimes they build it to fit a specific machine. Well, if you want to expand that market, then you got to go out and find the other brands and fit them. And that's probably the toughest part about it. But it's either you run with the idea or you don't run with the idea. And then the price of admission is doing all that legwork behind it. In a nutshell, we drive innovation because we're able to do it. I've heard it summed up before, a short line: if you take a major manufacturer like AGCO, Case, or Deere, they're like a battleship. We're PT boats. We can spin on a dime if we have to and do things differently. Where they're that big battleship, it takes them a long time to stop it. It takes them a long time to turn it, and the different things that, we can make circles around it the time they get turned around. And I think that's what we bring, that we're able to see something, innovate it, introduce it to the market, and then drive new innovations through that. Usually have about 4 to 5 years, with a new product. And then all of a sudden, it's one of those things that there's a lot of people, they figured out how to get around patents, or they figured out how to do this. That's just the nature of the beast. And we have what I consider to be young management team, and they're coming up through the company. And I wouldn't hesitate with them running the company today, the management team, because the one thing that they hadn't gone through yet was a downturn. Now they've been through that, and they know what they have to do. So I feel very comfortable that they could, in a heartbeat, take over.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That need to go through that to really cut your teeth.
When things are blowing and going, anybody can make it. When things are not going like that, that's when talent comes into play. And you were asking me about experience. I think it was probably one of the very few times that I ever used experience to the extent I did when we decided that we could tell that the market was, like a few years ago, like this recent downturn was really going to be a lot more dire than what we thought it was going to be when it first started. So it was in this very room I brought all the managers in, and we had a heart-to-heart. And I said, this is what we had to do back in the 80s. Hopefully this one would never get that bad, but you need to be prepared to do it if we have to do it. And everybody understood.
What would be something that's really unique about your philosophy here or your approach that might be different than some of the competitors out there? What would be unique about Yetter?
Well, the impact that the 80s made on us was the fact of the financial nightmare that we went through. And to this day, we run our business the same way. As we're self-financed, and we want to keep it that way, but we operate the business as though we're up to our eyeballs in debt with the bank. So we make the right decisions on do we really need this, or can we live without it? And versus, well, we got the luxury of having the cash, we're just going to buy it. We do draw down our operating loans, and we still have a line of credit with a bank. And there's only two ways that you lose your credit rating: is you don't use it or you don't qualify for it. So every year we pull it down for like 30 days. We put the money in a savings account, turn around, pay them back. But it shows history, because I can't predict the future, or I shouldn't say we can't predict the future of what's going to happen. Today we don't need the bank, but we can't talk about tomorrow. As a dealer of tomorrow location, we were invited to a lot of seminars on how to manage businesses and the various aspects of running a John Deere dealership. And I personally tried to attend as many of those as I could, because again, it gave me an insight of what the dealer thought about. Plus, usually you walk out of there with some very good ideas. I mean, it's some of the business management parts that I use today, I learned in some of those seminars. One I think that really stuck with me was, if you can't do anything about it, why are you talking about it? Do something that you can control. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. And that really drove home a point to me. And I think that that's true in business. I look at this business, I have a lot of friends that are farmers in my age group. I'm 65, and I think they were challenged to farm the farm and hand it off to the next generation. And I look at my job as doing the same thing in this family-owned business, that don't screw it up. Let the next generation have it and let them run with it. And that's probably the best joy I have out of it. And, there's been a lot of happy times and there's been a lot of sad times. And that's just part of it. But looking back, would I do things differently? Absolutely. But what we did got us to where we're at. So I can't complain, It's just, and it's like the management team I was talking about. I firmly believe when you delegate authority to someone, you delegate them authority. Both Derricks in the company have heard this a million times. They're probably sick and tired of hearing about it. I don't always agree with their methodology, but I certainly agree with their results. So I shut up and walk away. If they want my advice, they'll ask me. And if they don't want to ask me, it's not time for me to interject, because it's their idea and they need to run with it, not my idea.
What do you hope the mark is that you've left here?
My daughters ask me constantly when I'm going to hang it up, and I just tell them, because, well, you can draw Social Security, Dad. I'm like, so what? It doesn't interest me whatsoever. I mean, it's not, and hopefully I don't need that to live off of it. But as long as I feel like I'm producing and in good health and enjoying what I'm doing, I want to work, because I tried going to Florida for a couple winters and sitting back for a month, and I went crazy. I just, last year I was there for 2 months or 2 weeks, and this year maybe 1 week. It doesn't interest me just to sit around and not doing it. I mean, you can get hobbies and other kinds of things and be mentors if you want to, but I think you do best at what you know best. And I probably don't know the best about this company, but in this industry, but I think we've done all right. And to answer your question of what I hope to accomplish, I would hope that we could look back and say that we help push the no-till, reduce farming, help people cut costs, when they really needed it. And we did too in business, those kind of things. And I think it opened up the door to a broad spectrum of customers. And, the products that we've developed since then have helped add to that. And that's the kind of a sense of the direction the company's going from a product development standpoint. I just got to hand her off to the next generation, and my job's done.